Well, very big welcome to another video on Hades Beer Corner. Today, as the co-host, is this kawaii little plushie, and it's the first time that this kawaii plushie has been a co-host, or I think it has featured on my channel, my main channel, in the past, but it's the first time on the Beer Corner channel. So the beer for today is a barrel-aged imperial stout. Imperial stouts is a type of beer that has a special place in my heart and my stomach. Basically, they are imperial stouts that have been brewed as imperial stouts, and then later on, after the initial process has been aged in bourbon, whiskey, or cognac barrels or sherry barrels from 1 to 3 years at least. And the longer it's matured in these oak casks, the better it is, in my personal opinion. So today it's a imperial stout from a brewery called Laugar, and the beer is called Aupa Tovarich, and it's a Russian imperial stout, or simply just imperial stout, and it has 13.5 percent alcohol by volume. Um, this beer is a special one in more than one ways, but also this is the first beer ever on my channel from Spain and Basque Country. More specifically, it's also called Basque Autonomous Community. It's an autonomous community in northern Spain. It includes Basque provinces Álava, Biscay, and Gipuzkoa, and there are also the Basque Country extends along the Bay of Biscay to the French side of the border as well. So, what is stout, and by extension, imperial stout? Well, stout is a dark, top fermented or warm fermented beer with a number of variations, including but not limited to dry stout, oatmeal stout, milk stout, and imperial stout. Imperial stout is something like this. This Aupa Tovarich, this Basque Russian imperial stout. The first known use of word stout for beer is documented dating back to 1677, found in Egerton manuscripts. And in that case, originally it referred to the strength of the beer. The name porter was first used in 1721 to describe a dark brown beer, and because of the huge popularity of porters among especially the porters, the port workers, people who worked in ports, the docklands, and so forth, brewers started making them in a variety of strengths. The stronger beers, typically 7 or 8 and above alcohol by volume, ABV, were called stout porters, and porter and stout are therefore intertwined historically and in the development of these two types of beer. And the term stout has become firmly associated with dark beer rather than just strong beer. But many, like yours truly, think that stouts are and porters, regardless of strength, are very distinct, different types of beer. And for example, a world famous stout is Guinness, and Guinness is barely 5%, if I recall correctly. So it's not just the strength. Those are two quite different types of beer. So Imperial Stout, which is also known as Russian Imperial Stout, as it says here on this bottle, here uh, is a strong dark beer which was brewed in the 18th century by Thrale's Anchor Brewery in London to be exported to the court of Catherine II of Russia, or Catherine the Great. In 1781, the brewery changed hands and the beer became known as Barclay Perkins Imperial Brown Stout. It was shipped to Russia by Albert von Lecoq, who was awarded the Russian Royal Warrant, which entitled him to use the name Imperial. And A. Lecoq is still a brewery functioning to this day, and they have a very popular lager, which is imported in huge quantities to from Estonia to Finland, because it's cheap in Estonia. Typically, in the 1800s, the alcohol content of imperial stouts was around 10% ABV, and this has remained pretty much unchanged uh, to this day. And it varies, obviously, up to 13, 14, 15% ABV, and as low as maybe 6 or 7 percent ABV that I've seen in modern day liquor stores and such. And imperial stouts typically has have always had a high alcohol content, at least hovering around 10 uh, or at least 9 alcohol by percent alcohol by volume, and it's one of the more darkest beers available, varying from very deep dark brown to pitch black, or quite well, coal black would be very descriptive of the color quite often, more often than not. And the Americans want a lot of sugar, and the American interpretations of imperial stouts or Russian imperial stouts, and it has nothing to do with the modern state of Russia. You know, the name of the beer style. And American interpretations of the style often include ingredients such as vanilla beans, chili powder, which can be found, by the way, in Estonian imperial stouts such as Anderson's Darth Vader is actually a beer, and that is a strong imperial stout with chili powder in it, and it's really strong. The chili taste, the chili kick is really strong. And maple syrup, coffee, and marshmallows. Yuck! It would be absolutely horrible to put marshmallows in a beer. It's an abomination. Shame on you, Americans. But coffee and coffee beans is a very good idea, in my opinion, to use in the brewing of an imperial stout. but that's just my opinion. So, as I said earlier, many imperial stouts and imperial Baltic porters, which will be a video next week, many are aged in bourbon barrels to add additional layers of flavor, but it can also be bourbon, whiskey, uh, red wine. It can be sherry. It can be scotch. It can be cognac, XO XO cognac, XOX cognac. Very 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 good. And also I've made a video on the channel. If I remember, I'll link it in the description. There, I made a video about a beer that had been barrel aged in the first, in red wine barrel, and then sherry barrel. So it was really good. So the process when they are done with aging the beer, the imperial stout, so whether it be uh, Baltic porter, imperial Baltic porter, they put when they put the crown cork on, they add wax. They seal the bottle with wax. Why? The reason for this. Uh, Weird practice, not or not so weird practice, is that even though you might think the crown cork is airtight, but in fact it is not. Uh, some small amounts of oxygen will still seep through the seams of the crown cork, and therefore there's a point in sealing these barrel aged beers with wax, because through wax there is no leakage of oxygen into the bottle, and the leaking of oxygen into the bottle affects the taste of the beer, and it may as well affect the texture of the beer, if especially if you store it longer periods of time without the wax on the bottle. Okay, so I have now unsealed the bottle. The wax still on it. It has the logo of the brewery. It's really soft. It's like sealing wax. You see in the films when they melt it on an envelope and seal a letter. So that's it. Seals off. It breaks off quite easily, and you always drink the barrel aged beers from a rounded glass like this, because it you know for the same reason you have different glasses for red wine, white wine, whiskey, cognac, and so forth. And this has been aged in Ardbeg whiskey barrels. It's a Highland. It's a whiskey from the Scottish Highlands. Mm. It's fruity and coffee-ish, and it has that definitely smoky whiskey, really smoky whiskey aroma. Yes, it's good. It's um, highly roasted. It gives you that smoky whiskey taste into your mouth. That really nice smoky and not burning, but like a cognac beer I tried recently. It gave a sort of a back kick, burning side back kick that a strong liquor would give you, like whiskey, cognac, bourbon, and so forth. But cheers, it's good. Hmm. Really, really good. I'd give it 9 out of 10. Not perfect, but extremely good. Thank you very, very much for watching. Thank you if you have made it so far. Leave me a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and have a nice day.